Hi guys, and welcome to the first day of the Irish Readathon 2022, and I am so excited that the readathon is finally here. As soon as I get the announcement up and then my TBR, I'm just so excited to start this readathon. So it is the 1st of March and the readathon is here, and yeah, I couldn't be more delighted, and I am just really looking forward to a month of reading Irish authors and all the Irish books that I've been saving for this month. And yeah, we're gonna have a good month, I can tell. Yeah, here it is. So it is currently 8 a.m. in the morning. As I can see, I'm up, I'm dressed. I start work in an hour at 9 a.m. so I am sitting down now with Rossi. She's here. Rossi, say hi. Say hi. And I think I'm going to read for a while before I have to start work. There's also some exciting things happening in my life today. So my kitchen, I have someone coming in to respray my kitchen cabinets. My last vlog before Christmas, I was talking about how I was really looking forward to eventually getting my kitchen done a little bit. So this is a way of kind of freshening up the kitchen without putting in a whole new kitchen, which is very expensive. So the book I have decided to start with is Sally Rooney's Beautiful World, Where Are You? This came out last year, just kind of the last quarter of last year. And I meant to read it then, and then obviously I did not, and then I was going to read it in January, and then I didn't, and then I eventually was like, I'll just read it in March. So yeah, this is going to be my first book. I'm actually reading this and a few other books for a video I'm hoping to get out by the end of March, and it is to do with a shortlist for Irish Book Awards. So yeah, I don't really have any... Well, I guess I do. I have high expectations for this, just because, you know, it's Sally Rooney. She's much lauded. I loved Normal People. I liked Conversations with Friends, but I really did love Normal People. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what the story is here. I've heard it can be a little bit meta almost like autofiction in a way, in that Sally Rooney is using this novel to almost talk about some of her own experiences, and then I think almost in a way poke fun a little bit at some of the things people say about her. And you know, she's almost challenging things in a way, challenging reviews and views of her in a way in this book, and what the character is saying and doing, and I'm kind of looking forward to that. And yeah, this also kind of, while I didn't actually pick it for one of the prompts, it does work for read a book that one of the hosts has already read, as Leanne from Leanne Rose, my co-host. She has already read this book and she did a really good review of it. So hello, it is now Tuesday, the 2nd of March, and I have gotten a little bit of reading done, but I also went to the library. I also don't think I said yesterday when I was starting this that obviously we have had a little bit of a room makeover here, as you know from my past clips. This wall has all been used to be grey wallpaper, top and bottom, and what we have done is we've just painted over it. So we painted over the top bit white and then the bottom blue, and it actually came out really well, and I am obsessed with it. This is my new room, my reading room / my office, and yeah, I absolutely love it. And so, as I said, I went to the library. I did go to return some of the library books that I had out, and then I also needed to collect one and then I came home with 3 books. So obviously I couldn't go and just pick up the one book that I needed to pick up that I had reserved, but they're all Irish books. So the first book that I picked up is the one that I actually had on reserve, and it is The Poor Mouth by Flann O'Brien. Now this year, one of my main goals this year with my reading, one of the things I want to change a little bit with my reading was, I've kind of covered this in my wrap-ups so far, but I want to read more books that are in translation, so that have been translated from the original language that they were written in. And like a few weeks ago I was thinking, what are books that have been originally written in Irish that I could read now, like that have been translated into English? Because obviously, as much as I would wish to, I am not fluent in Irish. This is one that came up, The Poor Mouth by Flann O'Brien, and this is a satirical kind of a short novel. It is a novel, not a play, isn't it? Yeah, so it is a satirical novel, so it's supposed to be a satirical Irish peasant novel, and it's supposed to be quite funny. And we are following the story of a man called Bonaparte O'Cunasa, who was born in the west of Ireland on a terrible winter's night. A hymn to the world of potatoes, rain, and excellent poverty, this cruelly funny assault on the fashionable Gaelic revival of the day brought the wrath of the custodians of national sentiment upon O'Brien's head for many years thereafter. And I'm really looking forward to reading it. So this is one that I'm very much looking forward to, and I will hopefully be reading this month, and maybe I'll try and pick it up really soon to make sure that I do get it read. White City by Kevin Power. This is actually one that I have on reserve on my library app on my phone, so now I can cancel that reservation, because now I was just able to pick up the physical copy, as they just happened to have it in my library. So this is actually one that I don't really want to read. I'm actually reading it for a video that I want to do about the Irish Book Awards last year, and this was on the shortlisted list of books that I wanted to read. So we are following the son of a South Dublin banker who is piecing together the shattered remains of his life. He's been living the life of privilege, and then he's kind of been in drugs, dead-end jobs, and even his girlfriend now, I think it says, is at the end of her tether. Then Ben runs into an old school friend who wants to cut him in on a scam, a shady property deal in the Balkans. The deal will make Ben rich, and in one fell swoop will deliver him from all his troubles, his addictions, his father's very public disgrace, and his own self-loathing and regret. Problems solved. But something is amiss. For one thing, the Serbians' partners don't exactly look like fools. In fact, they look like gangsters. And for another, Ben is being followed everywhere he goes. Someone has been taken for a ride, but who? So, interesting. This one might be it feels like it might be a bit of a thriller, but also possibly there might be a little bit of humour in it. I don't know. And then the last one is one that just happened to be on the shelf in the library, and I picked it up. It's a non-fiction book, and it is Repealed: Ireland's Unfinished Fight for Reproductive Rights by Camilla Fitzsimons with Sinead Kennedy, and the foreword by Ruth Coppinger, who's actually a politician who I would have voted for in the past, and I admire her a lot. So so this is all about, obviously, Ireland's Repeal the Eighth movement, and it's also about what we still need to do in Ireland to kind of have those full reproductive rights. And also, I am about 200 pages into A Beautiful World, Where Are You? So I got a good bit read this morning. Me and Rossi again curled up on my reading chair this morning for a couple of hours before work. We're following these two different couples and kind of their interactions with each other, and then Alice and Aileen are friends and they email each other, so the chapters are kind of interspersed with their emails back and forth, and the emails are a little bit boring, and I actually kind of have zoned out a couple of times at the emails because they kind of go on about things politically, or they're talking about Marxism, or the housing crisis, or weird things in history and weird politics stuff, and stuff that is kind of interesting but not super interesting. So I was a little bit I don't really care about what they're talking about, so I did zone out a couple of times. In terms of the chapters where we're following the couples, I really enjoy that. I enjoy their interaction, I enjoy their dialogue. I think Sally Rooney is able to write this kind of awkward chemistry really well, that I really, really enjoy. So we're following with Felix and Alice. They're almost opposites attract in a way, but you're also in a way I can't see them ever working out long term. I think they might be good for each other in the short term, but not necessarily in the long term. They kind of bounce off each other, but in a bit of a ragged way. And then with Aileen and Simon, they've known each other for a long time, since they were children, and Simon is 5 years older, and there's this really soft, lovely relationship between the two of them, but I can't help but feel that one of them is going to feck it up, and hurt the other one, and I'm really afraid of that happening. I'm kind of like afraid to read on in case they hurt each other, and I don't want that to happen because I really like them together. But yeah, it's just like people, you know, in their late 20s, early 30s, just figuring out who they are and just going about life and realising that sometimes you don't have to figure out who you are. You can just live your life without particularly knowing. So yeah, I'm enjoying it so far, and I'll keep going with it, and I'll let you know what I think when I get to the end. Hello, I'm just out on a walk with Rossi. We are going out later with some friends, so I said I'd bring her out for a nice long walk and get all that energy out of her, so she just sleeps later while we're out. It's actually a really nice day for once. It's been raining a little bit, but now it's much nicer. So yes, reading updates. I managed to finish Beautiful World, Where Are You last night, and I've given it 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. I do think there were some other parts of the email that I said that were a little bit boring and I wasn't really into, but I did really like the partnerships. I liked the 2 couples that we were following. I liked the ways in which we saw them kind of gel together, and the other ways in which they didn't gel and they kind of bounced off each other. And I do actually think this felt a little bit more of like a hopeful ending Sally Rooney book. I don't think she's like known for really happy endings, but this one felt like happier than like other endings that like I've read from her anyway. So yeah, I quite enjoyed that. And then this morning I managed to read a little bit of Leonard and Hungry Paw by Ronan Hessian. This is going to be the next book that I'm reading, and this one I don't know too much about other than we are just following these 2 men, Leonard and Hungry Paw. We are just following their friendship. They are just described as 2 simple souls who just want to live a nice life, a happy life, and kind of just, it's supposed to be just be like the goodness of ordinary people and the loveliness of just being ordinary and not going out and doing amazing things, but just living your life and being happy and being content. And it's supposed to be a very kind of heartwarming, soulful book. And yeah, I'm looking forward to reading it and seeing what I think. Even like one of the first pages of the book had like lines that I wanted to like remember and I wanted to come back to. So yeah, so far only 3 chapters in, so I can't say too much, but I think it's going to be one that I enjoy and I'm looking forward to reading it. So I probably won't get any more reading done tonight because, as I said, I am going out with some friends. We're going out for dinner and that should be really nice, and some drinks. And then tomorrow I am getting my hair done, which badly needs to be done. So I will get some reading time in then. I always love hairdresser time, which just means reading and relaxing for a little while. So I will do that then. So I will check in then. Guys, I thought I should do a check-in as it has been a couple of days. So it is Sunday, March the 6th now, and I am just getting ready to do I'm going to go on to Margaret Penard's, she's doing kind of a Patreon chat, like a live stream chat, and she asked me a few weeks ago if I wanted to join her for this one, and I said of course. So I'm going to be joining her and just talking about the Irish Readathon and Irish books and Irish authors and everything that I love. So that's going to be on in about 40 minutes, and yeah, I'm looking forward to doing that. That should be fun. So yeah, just waiting for that. I am almost finished Leonard and Hungry Paul. I have about 100 pages left of it, so about 3/4 of the way through, and I am enjoying it a lot. It is just very sweet and fun and simple and just very, very nice. I will say there are parts of it that, like, it could be like slightly boring because not a lot is actually happening in it. It is very, not basic, but like it is just very nice. There's no like real like action or anything bad happening, or there's not even really like tense moments. It's just all like plodding along, and while I can definitely enjoy that, and definitely for particular times, current times and times going on in the world, this is definitely a lovely book to read. I'm looking forward to seeing how it ends up and what happens. I actually don't even have it with me because I was with my mum and dad this weekend, and on the way home I realised I'd forgotten my book in my mum and dad's, so I don't have the physical book with me, but I was actually able to check on my library app, and my library app actually had the book, so I was able to download it and find where I was in it on my physical copy, so I'll be able to finish it. I just won't have the physical copy until next week when I go back to my parents. So yeah, that was just a silly thing of me. So that is what I am doing. That is what I'm reading. I did finish my audiobook as well. I was reading 56 Days by Catherine Ryan Howard. This is actually a thriller set during COVID, so it's set during the start of like the first COVID lockdown in Ireland, and we are following two police detectives, as they are called, to this apartment where a body has been found, and it turns out the body's been there for a couple of weeks and they need to figure out what has happened with this body. And then we flash back to 56 days ago where this man meets a woman and they start a relationship, and then a couple of weeks into like COVID being in Ireland, he asks her if she wants to move in with him during the initial kind of work from home restrictions where everyone thought it was only going to last a few weeks, and he asked her if she wanted to move in with him while they were kind of at the very start of their relationship, and she agreed. So we need to figure out now what happened from that moment to this point where someone has been found dead in this apartment. So I enjoyed it. It was really interesting reading like a book set like in Ireland during the start of COVID-19, and kind of remembering those first few weeks, and like where you weren't really sure what was going on. Like we had the 2-kilometer restriction, you weren't like allowed to leave your house hardly for anything, and so my battery just died on my camera, but I will finish my thought at least about 56 days. So I was saying it was just weird flashing back to that time and remembering that time, and like it was just such a weird time. It almost feels like hazy, almost like dreamlike, that like the 2-kilometer restriction and not knowing what was going on and not knowing how serious and how long everything would happen for. I will say I did find we were following the detectives, and then we were following the female perspective, and then a few chapters in we started following the male perspective, and there were some chapters where like conversations were repeated and scenes were repeated through the male point of view when we'd already read them from the female point of view, and that could get a little bit boring because we'd already knew what was going on. We were just getting a slightly fresher perspective, knowing what his side of things, if you know what I mean. But yeah, this wasn't as exciting as I wanted to be. I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. I liked it. It just wasn't as dark or as exciting as I wanted it to be. But I will definitely be reading more Catherine Ryan Howard. I have another book of hers, The Nothing Man, which actually got a reference in this book, which was interesting. Which is about a serial killer. So that's the next one I'll be picking up, and I think my library has the audiobook of that one as well. So I'm going to I might try and pick that up soon as well, so we will see. Happy Tuesday, it is March 8th, it is International Women's Day, and I have a very exciting video gone up today just about female novelists, the rise of the female novelist. I had a lot of fun filming that. I will leave it linked up above if you haven't seen it yet by the time this vlog comes out. So yeah, that has just gone live now, so I'm excited to see how that is met. I wanted to just check in as I did finish Leonard and Hungry Paul yesterday morning, and I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. I did really enjoy it. As I said, there were times where it got a little bit bland, but I just enjoyed the feel of it. It felt very safe and comforting and kind, and I think we need more books like that. We don't need a book that has a lot of like bad things happen or characters that are needlessly cruel or mean. Sometimes it's nice just to have a book with characters who are kind and characters who are just living their day-to-day life as normal, gentle, nice people. And yeah, I definitely felt very connected to Leonard and Hungry Paul in different ways, in that they're not people who strive for a lot of things. They kind of just strive for happiness, and that is definitely like a goal of mine. I don't have these big massive goals of, you know, I want to own my own company someday, or I want this or I want that. Just happiness, and happiness in my day-to-day life is the most important for me. And yeah, I definitely felt that within Leonard and Hungry Paul as well. So I definitely enjoyed it, and I would recommend it a lot for people. Up one that I'm struggling with a little bit. If it wasn't for this shortlist, I wouldn't be reading this book, and that's The Echo Chamber by John Boyne. It's quite a satirical novel, so in that it's actually fun enough to read. It's quite entertaining because it's actually a little bit ridiculous, and all the characters are quite silly and over the top and real caricatures of the people they're supposed to be kind of representing. So we are following a family where they're all kind of like, the dad is a very well-known TV presenter, the mom is an author, all the children, who are like ranged age from like their late teens to the early 20s, they're all a little bit like hopeless, and like none of them have like real proper jobs, or they have like real like social anxiety and all sorts of like issues, and they definitely can't really live a like independent life away from their parents' wealth and money and prestige. And we are seeing something, I think something happens where one of them says something, and then I think this book is exploring cancel culture in some way. Now it's giving me a little bit of a bad taste in terms of, I know that this book spurred from a lot of the cancel culture that happened the past few years over authors like J.K. Rowling and other authors, and like people who've said things that have been very like derogatory to minority groups and to people, and have said really hurtful things to people. Now I 100% think sometimes people say the wrong thing and they are able to learn from that, but we're talking about people, I'm pretty sure he's been inspired by people who have not learned and who continue to say hurtful things and to not respect people and their choices. It's also a little bit, it's just weird reading this book. As I said, I'm not enjoying it. As I said, it's very silly, it's entertaining, the characters are over the top, as I said, and they're not really to be taken too seriously, so I'm just going to see how the rest of the book goes. But I don't think it's going to be like a 5-star read, just in terms of the whole thing about it is that it's silly. Like I can't take it too seriously, so I don't think it would be blowing my mind in any way. Reviewing the book and not trying to review the author in the best way I can. It's kind of the first time I've really done that, I think. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. Hello, it is now Thursday, the 10th of March, and I am just finished work. I'm feeling kind of tired, and like I just want to relax now and read for a while. Just prep a little bit for dinner first. It is just me for dinner tonight, I think, as Keen was in the office all day, so I think he's gone out for drinks and probably won't be home till later. So I have been craving eggs, beans and chips for my dinner like for the past week. So now, seeing this is just me and it's such an easy dinner to make as well, I think that's what I'm going to have for dinner tonight. So yeah, it's so simple but so tasty. So yeah, so what I'm going to do is just going to cut up some potatoes for chips now and have that ready to go for in about an hour when I just want to throw it in the oven. And yeah, so that's what I'm going to do. And this is my new kitchen cabinets. I don't think I actually showed you last week when they were done, but yeah, they are looking so much nicer. I also did finish The Echo Chamber this morning, and I've already written a skating Goodreads review for it. I gave it a 2 out of 5 stars. I didn't enjoy it as much as I could. I tried to forget my personal opinion of the author while I was reading it, but I did feel like this entire book was just in bad taste. I thought it was, you know, transphobia and just offense, trying like thinly disguised as satire. And like, I love satirical things sometimes, I think they're great, but I think if you're just trying to disguise like your ignorance within satire, like that's not how satire works. Some satire can be really clever and can be really good, and I just don't think, in my opinion, that this did it. I do think that this book is written specifically for like a cis het audience, like a cisgender person, a heteronormative person. Even for, you know, John Boyne is gay, he's an openly gay man, but I still think that this book in particular, like, I would never recommend this book for anyone who is trans or non-binary, or anyone really within the queer community. And again, like, there is even some like comments made about disability and stuff in it, but it's mostly kind of centered around what the main character says at one point about a trans person in it, and he dead names this trans woman. He uses the wrong pronouns, and it's like more like he purposely won't learn. And I think this is the problem I have with this book. I think it's completely okay for someone, like, I understand people, particularly people of a certain age, making mistakes when it comes to pronouns and it comes to kind of how differently the world and how people view the world and how people identify. Like, I can understand people making mistakes and people, you know, taking their time to learn about these things, and I think people are allowed to make mistakes and they're allowed to learn and they're allowed to be educated. But it's when someone refuses to be educated and when someone refuses to learn and continues to be ignorant, that's when I have the problem. And I think this is where this book failed. Like, this is a character who is being consistently ignorant about things that people are trying to educate him about, and like at a stage that stops being funny, and it's just offensive. In the past, I've really enjoyed John Boyne's writing, and I do think there were parts in this that were funny and the characters were entertaining, but it's just so ridiculous, like, because the whole thing is satirical and comical. Like, everything that they do is very, very ridiculous, and they're not necessarily believable. So yeah, I don't really know what else to say about it. I just didn't like it, and I didn't quite enjoy it, and I am looking forward to moving on to better books for this readathon, and reading Boys Don't Cry by Fiona Scarlett. Very, very excited to pick this one up. I just feel like it's going to really do something to my heart, so I'm going to start this tonight now once I do my prep for my dinner, and I'm going to curl up with a blanket and yeah, start this. So I'm looking forward to it. Okay, so I have just filmed 2 videos, and hopefully I'll get at least one of them edited tonight and scheduled for during the week. But also I wanted to do a check-in because I did finish Boys Don't Cry by Fiona Scarlett last night, and as I predicted when I first started to read this, I did cry a little bit when I was finishing it, and this ended up being quite an emotional book, like a lot more emotional than I thought it was going to be. And yeah, it really, really surprised me. It was actually so much different than I thought it was going to be. The story itself was a lot different, and there were some themes in this that I actually didn't know were in it, and there are themes. There is actual child illness and cancer diagnosis in this, so yeah, I would have given content warnings for that if I had known about this book, that was in this book when we picked it. I would have tried to give a warning for people, because I do know some people like to have warnings for those topics, but unfortunately I actually had no idea that was in this book. Yeah, I absolutely love this one. I gave it a 4.5 out of 5 stars. There was a scene at the end that I just didn't really understand, and I don't think it really made, not that it didn't make sense, but I just needed more information about it, and we never really got it, so I'm just confused about what exactly happened. So if that had been more clear, this would have been a 5 out of 5 stars, because I absolutely loved it. I felt really, really invested in the story. I loved both brothers. We're kind of following a past and present storyline. The past present is the younger brother Finn, And then we're following the present storyline of Joe, who is the older brother, and we see how he has been sucked into this gang violence that his father was in before them, and we are seeing how he's trying to do better, but he keeps kind of being like pulled back in by people and situations, and we're seeing his despair. We are seeing him going through a lot of trauma and a lot of just emotions and grief and things like that. And while this has a lot of like, you know, kind of despairing moments in it too, there's also a lot of like love, and there are lighter moments despite there being an illness in this book as well. I really enjoyed the younger boy's Finn. I really enjoyed his narration. I just thought it was so gorgeous. This book is just really beautifully written, and I just thought it was really, really gorgeous, and I would recommend for people to read, but also to go into it knowing that you are following a child with an illness. So there are parts of it that are hard to read and are quite sad. But yeah, absolutely love this. So beautiful. Will definitely be reading anything else that Fiona Scarlett writes, because she has a way with words. So yeah, that is it for this part of the vlog, and I will check in with you guys during the week. I'll be going to Donegal tomorrow, so the next part of the vlog will have some Donegal bits, and yeah, that will be fun. So thank you guys so much for watching this part of the vlog. Please leave any comments down below, and I will catch you with the Irish Readathon vlog part 2 later on in the month. Bye.